Good morning. Welcome everybody on Zoom and in person to day 2 of the 2023 September BioAC. Thanks everybody for their participation yesterday, and hopefully today will be as stimulating and worthwhile. Before we start, I hand it over to Mike. I just wanted to make a fun announcement, so if I could have the first slide. This morning, we are announcing the start of a new National Institute for Theory of Mathematics and Biology. This is a collaboration between the NSF, the Mathematics and Physical Sciences Directorate, and the Biological Sciences, or Bio Directorate, together with the Simons Foundation. This is primarily going to be run by Northwestern with input from the University of Chicago, and its focus is a new research institute that's going to facilitate collaborations amongst groups of mathematicians, all types of mathematicians, statisticians, computational scientists, et cetera, together with biologists to look at how to model and understand biology from mathematical perspective. And it's going to involve researchers all over, centered in Chicago, but all over the country to come and do this. So it's a very exciting initiative with $25 million from each partnering institute. And that was announced this morning. So that's the most exciting and new news from Bio that I wanted to share with you as soon as we had it. So with that, I will turn it over to our MC.
All right. Thank you, Susan. Good morning, everyone. So welcome to day 2. So today we're going to continue our bioeconomy discussion by considering what the future workforce should be to support the US bioeconomy. One of the tasks called for in the Bioeconomy Executive Order was to produce a report on the future workforce needs. To lead this session, I'm pleased to introduce Celeste Carter, who is a Program Director in the Division of Undergraduate Education in the Directorate for STEM Education. Celeste was one of the authors of the report on building the bio workforce of the future. So over to you, Celeste.
Okay, got it. All right. So thank you very much for the introduction, and it's a real pleasure to be here to speak with all of you today. And let me start sharing my screen as well. Okay. No, I don't want myself. I think we're fine, right? Okay. Yeah, we were working a little on the technical aspects of the presentation. So this was a report, as you know, that came out because of the executive order on the bioeconomy. The title of the report is Building the Bio Workforce of the Future, Expanding Equitable Pathways into Biotechnology and Biomanufacturing Jobs. And let's see if I can move to the next slide. I know you've all seen this, but I wanted to just do a quick screenshot just to say this was across federal agencies developing a plan to coordinate and use relevant current programs, as well as think about new multidisciplinary programs that might be envisioned in the future. So, so the idea was think broadly, think for everything from formal and informal training or education and the programs we have, technical and community colleges, certificate programs. I'm sure you all are aware of the increase in things like digital badging. Stackable credentials is another term I think is pretty prevalent at this point. Industry validated certifications, that all of those things rolling into this to think about expanding the career pathways, increasing the recruitment into biotech and biomanufacturing pathways, looking to serve currently underserved sets of people to move them as well so that we have a more diverse workforce. So all of that was, I think I know, and I know you have this report and you've read it. It's very broad, it's very sweeping. So our charge was to think about this in terms of education and workforce development. We have an interagency working group that has, I think I forgot to bring that printout. Probably 12 or 13 federal agencies on the working group, led by Joanna Mikulski and another, I think it's a different person now from OSTP, and then individual representatives from all of these agencies. We held convenings We brought together current workforce reports. There was a request for information on the Federal Register. All of that information was collated and put together into this report, Envisioning the Next Bioscience Workforce, a Summit on Industry Trends and Needs. And this was actually rolled out at a convening of community and technical colleges, government agencies, industry, that was led by a center that is funded by the program that I lead, which is Advanced Technological Education. Let me ask, how many people have heard of the ATE program? We talked about it yesterday. Okay, so all right, so you've heard about it. So the large centers in the ATE program are charged with convening all of the existing projects and other relevant centers that relate to in this case, the bioeconomy, really, because it covers all of biotech and biomanufacturing. This center is called Innovate Bio. And I brought, one of the things we do in this program is every 2 years we publish an impacts book. You can actually put into your search box ATE Impacts Book. You will pull it up. We have a resource hub at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and it is online as either a flip book form, as a PDF you can download. If anybody was interested, I have lots of copies upstairs. I could bring them down. But if you access that flip book and go to, let's get the right page here. I think it is 46 or 48, 46. You will see that Innovate Bio is highlighted, along with other, we also have a biomanufacturing center that's at Montgomery County Community College in Bluebell, Pennsylvania. There's a pretty broad portfolio. Innovate Bio itself tracks all of the 2-year community and technical colleges that have biotech or biomanufacturing programs. At this current time, I think there's around 143 of them across the United States. So they were all involved in this call to industry to say, if we're going to think about what our program should be doing in terms of recruitment even and dual credit from a high school program or career and technical education into a 2-year program following with the possibility of an articulation agreement or articulated pathway into a 4-year and then into graduate. Industry, what do you need? So this is where this report was rolled out, was at this convening, which was at the National Academies of Science earlier this summer. So it was very well received. People were really excited to see it. And I there's a lot of words on this slide. There's 5 basic recommendations that came out of this, and I tried to highlight, just concentrate on the bolded words. So recommendation 1 was expand and diversify the talent pool. Right, which I think we're all thinking about. We're all thinking about diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. This was looking then at minority serving institutions. What are the kinds of support services? I was at a Manufacturing Innovation Institute's conference earlier this week, and very interesting that Department of Labor is now adding a plan for child support services in some of their calls for proposals. So things are really broadening. Thinking about what are the challenges and barriers that students have, what are the things we should be thinking about and being able to support and asking for plans. So that was the first recommendation. The second one was strengthen those worker-centered strategies, and the big word was partnerships. And again, at this Manufacturing Institute meeting, partnerships and collaborations were probably the two words that every single speaker used, all for 2 days. So that's an interesting one because it brings in the industry, brings in labor organizations, brings in community and technical colleges, brings in workforce investment boards, economic development agencies, you name it, non-governmental organizations, 501c3s that are interested in workforce, basically saying we all have current activities across this spectrum. how can we better work together so that we move forward at a more rapid rate? Because I think one of the real critical things that industry's saying is they're desperate. They truly are desperate for across the board people to enter the workforce. So I think that's really a really important one, and then evaluate the approaches. What are best practices? What are things that we've learned from what we're doing? What are things that we could disseminate more broadly? And I know here at NSF we talk a lot about the incredible research and activities that our PIs convene and bring together and move forward in a given area. And then one of the questions is well, how do we scale that up? If we know we have something that's really innovative or something is really moving forward or there's some new effort that really is important, how do we get more people aware of it? We all have, right, dissemination, conferences, you write a peer-reviewed paper, whatever it is, but there's always this thought about what can we do better to disseminate this information. And I think that's one of the other things that's important. Expand the pathways. How many people think that there's an issue with articulation between institutions, between 2-year and 4-year, right? I know I had a biotechnology program myself in California, and one of the issues was always a student coming to me saying, I've transferred to San Jose State and they're not accepting X course. And I'd say, well, what did you take in? Well, I took in the full syllabus and I took in the program, and the faculty member said, oh, but your instructor didn't cover X activity in the depth that I do, so I'm not accepting that class, right? So I think one of the things I think we really do need to think about is how do we make cleaner articulated pathways? And I know a lot of you have heard the more on-ramps and off-ramps for students that, in terms of a 2-year program, I would get a lot of students going into a lab, an industry lab. A lot of my students ended up at Stanford as technicians in basic research labs. And they would come back to me and they'd say, okay, I want to learn more. What's my next step? How do I get relevant credit for the experience I now have, along with what I did in the 2-year program, to move and transfer and then complete the next degree? So clean articulation pathways and an understanding that a lot of students move in and out, I think is really critical. And then finally, we've got improving our data and analytic capacity, and it was great the first slide that there is a new partnership and center with mathematicians. So I think that's a great one. There's a special call out to use more of the Department of Labor competency models. Have any of you had a chance to look at the Career One Stop website for Department of Labor? They build competency models. Actually, a lot of the competency models have been built by principal investigators from my program. It's a pyramid structure. The bottom tier, you'll immediately recognize because it's employability skills, communication skills. What are your skills in writing and understanding other people? Can you work alone? Can you work in a cross-disciplinary team? Right? All of the things you would think about are things we would want all of our students to acquire anyway, but they're called out in that first level. The next level of a competency model is basic foundational STEM skills. Okay, are you going into advanced biomanufacturing? What are the biology courses and mastery concepts you should have gotten? Engineering. What are the skills in engineering if you're going into biomanufacturing you should have acquired? And then each successive layer builds to advanced competencies and mastery of various skills. So there is actually a special call out to work with those. One of the things that has been funded through the ATE program is a national talent hub. That's another one you can just plug into a search box and it will bring it up. It's an effort by the National Institute for Innovation and Technology to create a portal that supports both industry and incumbent workers as well as students to be able to have a place for industry to post a job, use the competency model that has mastery of certain levels of skills. They can actually post a job and say, here's who we're looking for. We want an entry-level biomanufacturing technician. This is the level of skills in each of these areas that we want. A student can look at it, upload their current resume and their list of activities that they have accomplished. And when the system sees that there is a gap, the system will actually tell the person where they can go to acquire those skills, whether it's a short course, whether it's enrolling in some specific program, whatever it is. So things like that are something I think we're actually currently doing. I know that the Talent Hub started with semiconductors, right? All of us are talking about the CHIPS and Science Act. And so they started with semiconductor and advanced manufacturing, but the next area they want to move into is biomanufacturing. So they're already actively working on this Talent Hub, and they've made this completely open. It's free for any student who wants to upload all of their relevant work, whether it's a CV, whether it's a resume, whether it's cooperative research, whatever it is, undergraduate research. So all of those things are possible to do on this Talent Hub. So I think as far as recommendations go, I think it's an important step, and one really to think about. And so I really, I wanted to make this very short, open it up for any questions you have. One other thing I did want to say is the Micro Nanotechnology Center decided we needed a peer-reviewed journal for advanced technological education. So this is the first edition, okay? There are now 3. The third one, which we'll be rolling out by next month, every single article is a peer-reviewed article from a student who has completed an undergraduate research project. So I think that's really important.